Morning, everyone. Morning, Richie. You have yourself a wonderful day. Morning, team. Morning, everyone, again. And thanks for joining me on Untengle. My name is Sister Elise, and of course, you know, I take you through from 10 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. We untangle. You know, so many things for untangle. May I tell you, so many things for untangle. We are talking about church and state. That's one of the major things we have to go untangle right now. A long time them I warn about this hypocritical system, you know. So it's now time for us to join Delmarine. So Delmarine, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am well.
Wonderful. So I was reading a little bit of your story this morning, and it reads like so many young girls growing up in Jamaica story. Unfortunately, that's how it reads. It's a story of early childhood sexual abuse and later domestic abuse. You conquered, but take us back to the beginning. Take us back to rural St. Mary and your migration to Kingston City.
All right. So good morning to you, Elise. Morning to your listeners. Like you rightly said, you know, it is something that is so familiar with a lot of young ladies. But I grew up in St. Mary, Bonnygate, to be exact. You know, far apart, way up in the deep rural parts. And so I grew up with my grandmother and a host of other cousins. And so my grandmother was this person who thought that she could save the world. And so she took on a mission to help this young man who was abusing his girlfriend at the time. And just, you know, inviting him to come into her home, to come and sit and talk with her. And so over time, he became like family to us. And he just started to sexually abuse me when I was 8 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. And my aunt, who was an Eagle at the time, she used to come in from St. Mary. She used to come into Coronation Market in Kingston. And so she just brought home this random man to introduce to us as our quote-unquote uncle. And he, too, started to sexually abuse me.
That's another man, a different man?
That's a different man.
So let me ask you this. Did you get a chance to actually tell your grandmother what was happening to you before she brought in the second one?
No, my grandmother died not knowing. Well, for me, I kind of figured out later on that she probably knew what was happening, but I did not confront her per se to say, oh, Mama, this is what was happening, this is what you did, and all of that. No.
Wow. And what is the motivation behind her? It couldn't be just that she wanted to talk to them. What was the motivation?
My grandmother?
Yes. What was her motivation for bringing them in?
Like I said before, you know, my grandmother, she was a missionary in our local church.
Oh.
And so she just believed that she could save everybody, you know?
Okay.
Right. That was her thing. Because she started out wanting this to be a good thing, but it turns out to be one of the worst things that could ever happen to a family.
Can I tell you something, Delmarine? This is not the first time I'm hearing this, you know. A lot of people who either try to save the world or bring people into their households with good intentions, it turns out to be a path to hell.
But guess what? It happened to me.
Oh, my
It happened to me. There was this, based on my story, I was on television. I was talking about just how I, too, I'm doing my part to help bring awareness to sexual abuse in children, and that's my passion. And a lady contacted me. Something similar was happening actively with her daughter. And I took the young girl, brought her into my home, and it just turned out to be a wrong decision for me at that time. Wow. And so, of course, it was also something that I learned from and was able to recover from and help persons also who was going through the same thing. But it's a lot. It's a lot.
Let us talk about early childhood abuse and what it does to your self-esteem, because perhaps at 8 you're not realizing what it's doing to your self-esteem, but certainly by the time you reached your teens, you must have realized that something is not right.
But separate and apart from those two gentlemen, there was also a young lady who was sexually abusing me as well, because my mother lived in an adjoining community to the one I grew up with my grandmother. And so I used to go by my mother, like, you know, for summer holidays or Christmas holidays. And a cousin of or a niece of her husband would also sexually molest me. Like you rightly said, at 8, 9, 10, you don't even realize, because remember back in those days, we did not have social media. We did not have like a public library in my community. So certainly the only books that you would read was the one that the government would give to the school. So a lot of these things weren't in the book. So I remember when my dad was getting married and I came into Kingston for the wedding. That's how I migrated to Kingston. And, I had passed my common entrance at the time it was, and they were trying to find a school in Kingston to place me. And so, I got placed in a high school in a volatile community, Tivoli Gardens. And, I remember my first, what they call at that time, guidance counseling class. And she was explaining to us about good touches and bad touches, safe touches, and all of that sort of thing. And I nearly died in that class.
Oh, my God.
I nearly died because what she was saying, what was not to happen to a young girl or a young boy, was the same things that was happening to me. Like every single thing that she was saying that should not have been happening was what was happening. And so I remember I ran out of that class. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran, and the play field on the school was huge, and I was just running. I didn't know where I was going. It was as if something broke in my head, literally. And I just started to run, and she ran out of the class behind me, and she was shouting at some boys on the playfield to hold her, get her, get her. But the boys did not want to catch me because they thought it was something that I had done.
Okay.
Eventually, they caught up with me, and I was just shaking. I was just trembling because at that time I wanted to die.
That feeling of wanting to die is a feeling that a lot of young girls, and I'm happy you mentioned boys, go through. And unfortunately, there are some that actually carry it through.
I tried. I tried
God.
on several occasions because this thing that is happening I'm speaking about now is just like the front page to everything else that happened to me. It's just like the start of everything. I tried on, I think about 4 times attempted to take my own life because that situation just got worse and worse because nobody believed that I was going through this. We have a thing in Jamaica that we call bad pitney. Oh, you're just a bad pitney. And that was what everybody thought that I was. But every chance I get, I try to educate people that there is no such thing as a bad pitney. And we as Jamaicans, we need to come away from that. Something must have happened to a child for them to be acting out. Your responsibility as the adult is to find out what it is that has happened to that child that caused that sudden shift, that caused that sudden change in the child's behavior. It's not just, she's a teenager and so she get bad, she starts smell her arm, because that was some of the comments that I got.
Yeah, that's a very, we should start smell ourselves. That's a very popular comment. But you know something? I tell you something. This is a wonderful forum, because a lot of the culture that we have in Jamaica does not lend itself to understanding that whatever happens to a child when he or she is a child is not your fault.
It's never. I remember from one of the men that molested me, I got an infection. Right, I got a vaginal infection, and when my grandmother, she would saw my under, she said, you're not bathe yourself properly, you need to bathe yourself properly, redkin pit enough nasty, and nobody understood that this was what is happening. Take me to the doctor and find out what was happening. No, it was when I became way up in my teenage years, and this thing was constantly coming and occurring, that I went to the doctor and found out that it was something that could be treated, thank God, and I got myself looked after. Nobody saw these things. They just, bad pick me and you're not bathe yourself properly.
So you went to the doctor on your own?
I became homeless. A lot of things happened in between then. And so I became homeless when I was 15. And that was when I went to the doctor.
You know something? Stick a pin. You said you became homeless. And homelessness, for those who are wondering why some children run away, homelessness is not unusual for children facing abuse, No, they will run away.
It is the first choice.
Yes.
Sometimes it is the only choice.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it is the only choice. And again, it goes back to being to adults being adults and being responsible adults and taking responsibility. Because I did not become or became homeless because, me a bad pitney, I mean, I want to hear what adults say. No. I had issues that I did not know how to deal with as a child. At 15, I am still a child.
And a traumatized child.
very traumatized.
No,
Very
seriously. And there, you
traumatized.
know, something too, there are a lot of things that happen to children, particularly here in this culture, that traumatizes them and as a result
Listen.
gives them serious behavioral problems
Mhm.
and later in
Mhm.
life issues that it's very difficult to deal with after a
Yes.
while. I'm going to
Yes.
come to that because we just want to celebrate the fact that you actually dealt with yours. But okay, homelessness. So from
Mhm.
homelessness now to
To
domestic
being raped.
oh Lord of mercy.
It's like I said, it's a lot, and I've actually written a book about it. It's called
Excellent.
Restored to Beautiful. Persons can get it if they're interested. But when I became homeless, in trying to find my way back to my dad, I got raped and became pregnant from that rape. I have my son, he's now 21 years old. And, it's just a whole bunch of things that happened after that. One of the main things, and I heard somebody talk about it this morning on a platform that I was on, is for parents to actually love your children.
Yes.
Tell your children that you love them. That is very, very important because I did not have that. I did not, I have the I love you and you look beautiful today and have a good day at school sort of thing. I did not have that. And I went in search of that.
Yes.
And because I went in search of that, it landed me on the wrong end of the street on so many occasions, too much to even mention. I got battered, hit, just kicked, slapped in the worst ways.
There's
In the
something
worst
else that we
ways.
need to talk about, and it's the fact that childhood abuse, particularly sexual childhood abuse,
Mm-hmm.
will eventually lead, as you said, to homelessness, which will
90% of the
eventually
time.
lead to prostitution. It's something that's not hard to figure out.
And
It's a
I have
chain
been there.
reaction.
I have been there. I have done the prostitution. I was even at one point trafficked, human trafficked, sex trafficking. I have been there.
So let's just talk about sex trafficking. How old
Hmm
were you when this happened?
I was in my early 20s. I was in
Really?
my mid 20s, yes. And it was out of desperation because I was in the middle of this 8 year domestic situation, very bad situation. I tried to take my own life 3 times in this relationship. It had produced a son, and by this time I had 3 boys now. And it was just really, really, really bad. The police got involved on several occasions, and they didn't even make any difference because when they left, the abuse just got worse, right? And out of desperation, I knew that I could not be in this relationship, not only for myself, but for my boys. I knew I wanted better for them, right?
Yeah.
And I was searching for a job. Remember, no, I did not finish high school, so I didn't have any subjects. Be it altogether, I was a very intelligent person, knew how to manage myself in whatever situations. And so I decided I was going to look for a job. And so I found one of our daily newspaper advertising for masseuses. I thought that it was, the nice ones that you saw in the hotel and all of that. I did not know it was something that was totally different. These places are just glorified sex shops.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went there, I was held against my will
Wow.
for several months. You know, just I have to have sex with anybody who they chose or anybody who chose me and could not complain about it. Had to do what I had to do if I wanted to live.
So how did you get out of that?
I think from my understanding, I think the police was now starting to zoom in on this person who operated the place.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just came and said, listen, we have to leave from this spot. Those who want to come with me can come, and those who want to go can go. And the sad thing about it is that probably about 80% of the girls that were there went with him.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Trauma bonding.
Just a handful of us decided to go our own way.
And let me congratulate you for that because there are so many things that people do and I don't think that the public understands why. Because for those who stayed with this predator, a lot of people probably thinking to themselves, oh my goodness, what an idiot and all kind of
Yeah,
negative things to
no,
say.
no, no,
But it's
no.
not so it go.
Listen, yes, in
Yes.
that space, it was like two worlds, right? If you behaved yourself and you conformed and you submit and do whatever it is that they want you to do, you were praised,
Mm-hmm.
you were given incentives, the money was good and they treat you very well if you behave. But if you wanted to go on the other part and be disobedient, they really leaned in on you.
You know, for those listening who not understanding trauma bonding, perhaps you need to just go and Google the Stockholm Syndrome. Google trauma bonding, and you realize
Yeah,
that oftentimes, because
yeah.
of the trauma, the same person who is violating you, as you mentioned, is also dangling a cookie in front of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they tell you stories, and you feel sorry for them, and you're understanding what is going on with them, not realizing that you are a victim as well.
Absolutely. And it is
Mhm.
particularly difficult for those who were raised in an abusive environment to see.
Exactly,
All right.
exactly. And what I realized too while I was in that space is that most 90% of the females that were there were from rural parishes. They had like St. Mary, St. Thomas, places like those, the deep rural St. Anne. While you had a few Portmore and Kingston, it was predominantly ladies from the rural parishes.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I mean, for those listening, I'm sure that there are females listening who think to themselves that because of all that they've been going through, they're probably damaged for life.
No,
And
no.
listening to you, it is going to inspire them. So let me ask you, what was your aha moment when you decided to go on a healing journey?
You know what? I at the same time it was God. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a Christian first of all. So when I was going through all of that, I knew prayer. I knew that there is a God, even though at times I didn't understand why there would be a God and I'm going through all of this. At
Yeah,
that time, I did not understand.
yeah.
But there was something, even in those times when I tried to take my life, my boys, my children, I figured out that, listen, if I am alive and I've gone through all of this and I have both my parents, what will happen to my boys who only have me?
Wow.
Who only have me. So
Wow.
I knew that I had to do something. I don't know what it was, but it was daily for me. Sometimes it was hourly. Okay, I got through to 10 o'clock. Let me push through to 12. I got through to 12 o'clock. Let me push through to... Because there will be days like that. There will be days when I can't carry myself through an entire day. I can't see what it is from morning until evening. But hourly, I push through. And one of the things that helped me a lot, I love to read.
Yes.
And I journal a lot. I love to write.
Yes.
And so I would just write everything. I would write my prayers. I would write my frustration. If I was cussing somebody else, I would write it too. And that helps me. That was like therapy for me, and I did not know at that
Yes.
time. So
So,
that was one of the things that helped me.
and that's another thing that will help others because sometimes you don't know where to begin. But you see, because we're living in an age of Facebook or social media
And
generally,
social media.
sometimes, I was even saying to a family member of mine over the weekend, sometimes, you know what you're going through more than anyone else. Sometimes
Yes.
all you have to do just Google where you go through and see what come up. And you'd be surprised of the information that comes up, and it somehow leads you on a path to
Yeah.
healing.
And you know what, too? You have to have a dream. What
Yeah.
kept me, as far as I can remember, I've always wanted to become a teacher. Always
Okay.
wanted to teach babies. And so when I was going through all of that, the homelessness, the hungry days, because let me tell you, man, hunger is a real thing. I experienced that. And so I just always wanted to become a teacher, and I had that in the back of my mind because when I was growing up, I would teach everything in the yard. I would teach the buckets, I would teach the flowers, I would teach the trees. I would just teach anything,
Yes.
right?
But you
And so
recently
I
got a
wanted.
degree in teaching, no?
I did an early childhood course with art.
Okay.
And so I am still waiting for my certification in case art people listening, please. I need a job.
Okay. Wonderful.
And so I did that and, got certified, and I'm now an early childhood teacher.
Yes, you are now a teacher. That's what I've heard. And
Yes.
I'm sure you're the kind of teacher who looking out to see signs of any kind. Lord of mercy.
Listen, every single child I see. Sometimes my husband and I say, okay, remember, we only have an hour to get to where we're going because me I stopped and I'm talking because I also mentor young ladies and I've had the opportunities to talk to a lot of young ladies. And let me tell you, you think my story is bad. There's a lot of persons who are going or have gone through worse, right?
All right, let's
And
quickly
so,
talk about Feed My Sheep.
okay. So Feed My Sheep came about because, again, the hunger and being homeless. And, the Holy Spirit just said, this is what you are called to do. Separate and apart from everything else that you're doing, I want you to feed these people. So what I try to do on the 8th of every month, I try to feed at least 100 street people between Portmore and Kingston, downtown. And the donations coming from like out of pocket or persons who just know of the initiative that I'm doing and want to help.
Right.
In December, we fed over 300 street people downtown and gave groceries to about 8 or 9 families. And I'm trying to do that again for this December coming up.
Delmarine, I get in the wind-up sign, but I can't stop yet because I have to. Okay, I know that you're an evangelist now, and you mentioned
Right.
that you mentor those who perhaps went through the same thing as you. What do you find while you're mentoring to be one of the most difficult obstacles that young ladies who want to break free face?
Support.
Yeah.
Support. They don't have
Wow.
support. They don't have a lot of persons believing in them. They don't have a lot of people believing in them because people telling them that, oh, you're bad, you're a bad girl, you're a bad pitney, nothing good now come out of you. And so we tend to believe that if we hear it every day.
Yes.
We believe it.
Yes, and that has a lot to do with, again, self-esteem, because
Yeah.
if you're being told that you're not much, and then you personally starting to feel that you're not much, then it so within, so without.
Because it's repetition. They hear that every day.
Yeah,
Especially for
yeah.
persons living in the ghetto areas and the rural parishes where they don't think that I can't come out of this space. They tend to believe it and they just settle.
Finally, where are you now? We've heard about the trauma. Have you got any therapy? And where are you now?
I have not gone through formal therapy like sitting down on a couch with somebody. No, I have not gone through that. But I'm healed. I am now married to a wonderful man. Ministry is going good. I am keeping myself busy with these ladies that I'm helping, coaching, and just pressing forward.
You know, enough respect to your husband because he would have to be special because I know that it's not easy because, you know, it can't be because you have so many issues that he has to deal with, you know. So we just want to say enough respect to whoever that gentleman is. Big up yourself. And we're really hoping there are more out there. Final word, Delmarine. What would be your thoughts and what would you want to say to young ladies like who have been going through what you went through?
3 words. 3 words. And I thank Panabana for these words. Life goes on.
Oh, wow.
Life goes on. As that song has been my daily bread. When I was going through, I would listen to it every day, 3, 4, 5 times per day. I would have it on repeat. Life goes on. No matter what it is, don't find yourself stuck because while you're stuck, life goes on.
Let me tell you something. You need an award for bravery because you sound so confident in spite of all that you've been through, and keeping it a secret would help no one.
Nobody. Life goes on and God is always good.
God is good. Absolutely. Wow. So we're going to have to talk again. This cannot be, as I say, I get in the wind up signal and I'm going to wind it up. But I'm going to ask my producer to keep in touch that we can really have other conversations, particularly about your initiative, which is the Feed My Sheep. And your mentoring. And your mentoring. You're a hero, girl. You are a hero. All right. Wow. So, wow. I mean, texts are coming in like crazy. We have some of the strongest people around us, and we don't even know what we're going through. We don't even know what the person beside us is going through. My phone is going off. My phone is going off. So, you know, sometimes we read the news and sometimes we listen to the news and we hear about these incidents, and we really need to put a face to what is happening, you know, because sometimes we just feel, say, it's that girl there and you don't know that girl there. That girl is someone like Delmarine, someone who's right beside you. Tanika says a real facts, them say a bad picnic. No picnic, no bad. Anything that a child has been through, I want the whole nation to know. You see, as long as them go through it when them a picnic, enough for them fault. But there is another part to that. And the other part to that is that you know as an adult, you have the strength and the will to heal yourself. Get the information that you need, just like this very powerful sister. Get the information that you need. And when you get the information, go on a journey of healing yourself. Jamaica, way back when it comes to understanding trauma, understanding how children react to trauma, way back. And we have to really come up and, you know, keep in line with, you know, developed countries as to the information that people need. Because trust me, we need a lot of information. That bad picnic something there outdated. We really need to stop that and inform and educate ourselves about trauma bonding, which is also the Stockholm Syndrome, and educate ourselves about trauma in children and how they react. You know something, as I sit here listening to this song, and as my producer and I talk about the interview a while ago, a lot of the people who were saying so bad, remember, Delmarine said, that you remember what them used to say about her? Them used to say, she bad. And you see this same little boy where Richie Innocent talk about, oh, him so bad, and them I said, sure, him soon grow it out and thing. A lot of these young people, young men, are suffering from childhood trauma also. And it plays out through cruelty to others, cruelty to animals. And when we see things like that, just like how we must say to the little girl who seemed to be very sexualized, that she too bad. But to find out why is she so sexualized, because she couldn't just learn this on her own. So it's the same thing we have to do to the little boy who just seemed just too rude, too bad, too cruel. We have to start to investigate as a society. Why? Because we're just responding and we're not investigating why. Me telling you from morning, say me Untengle church and state, and I don't come off of that. A lot of the youth them where you see, even some of the youth them where puffed up with all kind of money and ring and all them something there, like what took place on the weekend. The people them who scamming in the name of the Lord. You see, enough of them people there, enough of them people they need healing. Them a say them a give healing, but a them need the healing, because a lot of them have all kind of abuse where them facing from them a little boy, little boy, and it puff up now till it reach a stage of what happened over the weekend. Yes, I mean, take back no talk, because all them people there, as far as me see when me look, when me look with my third eye, all me see is trauma and abuse that you project now on your congregation and you project on the society at large. So my brethren says speaking out is the best therapy. I agree with you, Troy, that speaking out is one of the things that we need to, deal with as therapy. But there is also another level to therapy. And the other level to therapy is when you're talking to a professional person who understands sometimes a lot of what you don't even understand. So let me suggest that within time, of course, you're going to speak out, and that is going to form part of your therapy. But within time, see if it is at all possible to get therapy. That's another thing that the Jamaican society, we just don't even to deal with too tough. And we need to start to deal with them thing here. If we really want a society, or if we really want a set of young people who are adjusted, well adjusted, and not coming from dysfunction, not acting out of dysfunction, because it is very clear that we are a traumatized society and we're acting out of dysfunction more than anything else. So are we there yet?
Yes, we're here, Mommy Elise.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Good afternoon, Beauregard.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
We're doing good in spite of everything, but we're still doing good. Yes.
That's a good thing to hear.
Yes,
Very
yes,
good.
yes.
Well, it's a pretty rainy Tuesday afternoon here in the tri-state area.
Really?
Yeah, lots of rain.
Oh, nice. From when?
From last night, it started around after 1 last night, sometime around there.
Okay. Is that good or bad?
No, it's good. I call it show as a blessing. When the rain is not destructive, it's a good thing.
I agree 100%. All
Yes.
right, great. So I know you know all of what's been happening on our side. So let's start with your side.
On our side, let's start with the president. There are a number of concerns that we are currently dealing with here in the United States. And, everyone is looking to President Joe Biden. And while everything is not his fault, the blame falls on him because he is the president, which leads to his approval rating at this point, which is at this stage is in his presidency, roughly around 9 months. He has the second worst approval rating in U.S. history. We can all take a wild guess who that other president is.
And he says this with a straight face. Go
Yes.
ahead.
But Joe Biden's approval rating is now at 46%. And a number of things that we have been dealing with have contributed to that number. The pullout of American troops from Afghanistan, that was one of the reasons. The struggle that he now faces in Congress to pass the infrastructure bill, which is to, you know, rebuild roads and bridges and public transportation, upgrade airports, ports, waterways, things of that nature. The ongoing supply chain issues with ships and ships of supplies that's just sitting out on the water in California and New York with food and all sorts of things that need to come in the country and things that need to also go out. Also, the gas prices is one of the things that's affecting his approval rating right now. So that's with the president. Also, the COVID-19, we all know he inherited that problem, you know, so we can't too blame him for that. He's trying to actually deal with everything that he can.
In what way? I mean, tell us about how he's dealing with the COVID-19, and we understand the rest. The rest is just politics. But how has his approval rating dropped as a result of how he's dealing with COVID?
Well, I would have to say it has to do a lot with the mandates. You know, during the campaigns, you know, there was the talk of, no, we cannot mandate anything. And, you know, that those videos are out there. Those are facts. You know, you can actually prove him saying that. And now, after being elected, here comes all the mandates. You know, so that's one way in which his approval rating has spiraled downward. Yeah. The people who are not going along with the mandates.
I hear you. You know, it's very clear that that you know, that mandate is an international one, and it is clear that it is to make it inconvenient for those who remain unvaccinated. We're not quite sure how inconvenient, because it's going to be happening. Well, I don't know to what extent, but it's happening this side too.
Yes, it is. And speaking of inconvenience, remember the basketball player Irie Irving?
Yes.
That I told you about, that could not practice with his team or play in the Barclays Center. Well, this past Sunday was the team's game opener at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and thousands of protesters took to the streets of Brooklyn, marching towards the Barclays Center, protesting the mandate, chanting, "Let Kyrie play." And it actually got out of hand, because some of the protesters, they actually stormed the door, which caused them to shutting down the Barclays Center for a few, to, you know, let police get everything under control. And yesterday, even about 5,000 demonstrators crossed the Brooklyn Bridge from Brooklyn into Manhattan. They carried signs that said, "My body, I decide." One man had one that called the mandates tyranny. They even had signs comparing President Biden and Mayor Bill de Blasio to Hitler, with the complete mustache underneath. You know, the Hitler mustache right there on the picture. So that was. I would
love to see Biden in that mustache.
Yeah, that was one of the things that took place yesterday.
You know something, Beauregard. People are just very frustrated right here now, and they're frustrated with governments, the various governments, and you know, the more I look at what's happening our side, my side, is the more I see this playing out. I mean, it might seem very dramatic what is happening and all of that, but as far as I'm concerned, it is really just a way to show dissatisfaction with government, because a lot of the dissatisfaction that the people are facing with government, up comes a cult leader who knows what these dissatisfactions are and who play upon it.
True indeed.
And that's exactly what has been happening. So if you have a government who, you know, still bowing to the Queen, and someone comes up and says, "Oh, and the Lord says, don't bow to the Queen," and most people think that we shouldn't be bowing to the Queen, immediately he sways people over his side.
True.
And that is why proper leadership is so very important. A lot of what is playing out is just frustration with our leaders, and they're looking in the, I would say, another wrong direction for leadership.
Yes, sister, you're absolutely right, 100%. In terms of the cult pastor, what has been the word in Jamaica? What are the citizens of Jamaica saying about what transpired yesterday?
Wow.
Because I could give you the reactions coming from this side that, you know, people have spoken to and things that I hear. You know, people have mixed reactions right now about what happened. You have people who are saying that, you know, for some people, you know, like I said, mixed reactions. So you have people who fall on the side of, okay, he actually died at the scene of the accident. And there are other people who you can classify as a conspiracy, or that's what it's going to be classified as, who believes that he's not dead. And I'm just going to be straight up with you and tell you what the reactions are. Some people are saying that, what were they doing on that road? You know, why they never use the highway? Why wasn't he handcuffed? All police were overtake vehicle. Those are the people who actually believed what took place yesterday. Then there are the people who are saying that this thing looks staged. They're saying that no blood, no scratches, no bruises. The victim looked too clean coming out of the accident. Mask still on face. A bunch of things, people even went as far as saying them fly him out and this is Jamaica Epstein and a bunch of things. A bunch of things people are actually saying right now, and it all comes down to them saying that, he knew too much about prominent folks in Jamaica and dead men tell no tales.
I think that's the most common thing coming out of Jamaica. Because let us say we believe what the news report says. And that's another thing too, Beauregard. Because of the trickery that happens among church and state, we can't burn them from morning and we not stop burn them. So because of the trickery that comes out from church and state, a lot of people have doubts about just about everything. And it just seems just too convenient for most people, including myself, may I add, that as soon as this man is incarcerated, well, he's not incarcerated, as soon as he is taken into custody, right? And him just dead, so. Somebody said to me that, Jamaica is like you're watching a movie and everybody there watching movie and I say, them lie, that show you lie. yeah, because no, just me. No, one of them show there.
People are saying this is not a coincidence, it's a bull incident.
No, we can't see the cow family. We just have to see the bull. No, seriously. And it just that to me is very, questionable. And a lot of people here in Jamaica know his associations with people in high places.
Right.
And the brethren, that is Kevin, was getting very braggadocious about it. So him a do him sermon, him start bust some artist name. I'm sure those artists must wonder why the man doing that. But it's like him preaching start to get, volatile, him license to kill and all them kind of something there. I just think his power was getting too much for those who gave him that power.
Right.
And as a result of that, he became, it was uncomfortable.
And one of the main questions that a lot of people have been asking in circles, is that where is the Prime Minister in all of this? How has the Prime Minister not said anything since this whole case came about?
A vaccine, if him thing there, yeah. Vaccine frame thing there, and he needs to address it, because he a lot of people him need to hear what the people them must say about him. You understand? So if I were him and him, remember these are campaigning politicians, I would take a little time out of the vaccine and start to hear what the people them must say upon the ground, because the people losing faith. People have always been losing faith in the government and governments, preceding governments. But even now more than ever, nobody is buying these stories anymore. They just not.
No.
Even the vulnerable, even those who always just believe anything where people tell them, enough of them now believe it again. Because it just seemed well, okay, fine. We saw videos of them seemingly digging out this brethren from out of the car. But one of the reasons that I would think that perhaps he really is gone is that his family has actually had a pathologist to observe his autopsy. And I would be very interested to hear what the family has to say. Because if the family has actually seen him and questioning the autopsy and insisting on being there and all of that, I would like to hear from the family now.
True.
I really
would. And I'd like to say condolence to the officer who they also said passed away, to the family of that officer, and to the ones in the hospital, a speedy recovery. Yes,
but then again, Beauregard, the question still remains, and you mentioned it too. A lot of people are wondering, because it's normal procedure to take someone who is in custody from one point to another, but that person usually has on handcuffs.
True.
So, for of course, it leaves open now all kind of things for the people them start talk about where did go on in the car, make them did crash.
Right. And you can't blame the people for asking the questions, because, when something just doesn't sit right with you, you're going to question it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those who like to palsy-walsy up with people in high places, perhaps you want to rethink it. I don't know. Perhaps.
Perhaps. Well, that is it from my side, sister.
Remember, Jamaica is one of those movies that you sit down and say, what a sure lie.
Boy, it seemed to me like Jamaica want plug out and plug in back.
But
A reboot. No, something. Something have to give, sister. Something.
you know something, Beauregard. I know we're talking long, but we still have to say it. I had a conversation this morning with a young lady who was talking about her early sexual abuse and it continued straight through her teenage years. And Jamaica just need to get with the program. Because it just seems as though we just living in a world all by ourselves. With all these things happening, we just, as you say, we need to plug out and plug in back. And hopefully when we plug in back, we understand. Because a lot of what is happening with either crime and just atrocities that happening here, a lot of it is just a traumatized nation, you know.
Yeah, man. For years and decades.
Years and decades, as you mentioned the other day, it started from probably before slavery, and we're inheriting these generational issues. We just keep inheriting them, and them getting worse and worse. And one of the things that we really have to face as a nation is that we are traumatized, and we need to understand what it means to go into therapy. We need therapy as a nation, and we need therapy as individuals. We're traumatized.
We need healing, sister.
We need healing. See
Yes,
it there?
man.
See it there?
Healing.
Right, that's all. Right, that's all, the Beauregard. Right, that's all.
Right there.
Yep. We need healing. Bad. And the big boy dopey story them we are here from the powers that be. Nah, cut it again. It just not happening again. Nobody no believe or no.
Back to the drawing board.
Yep. People are suggesting that we need to start looking very seriously within our communities of people who have a history of volunteerism, a history of really loving people, loving communities, and really start to put forward some more leaders, because it seems as though the ones that we have now, or the choice that we have now, is very limited, and the ones that are out there now losing credibility rapidly.
True. And even as a parent, you know, I believe that parents should be the first and foremost leaders, you know, out there in the community. When it comes to the children, you know, parents should put a foot forward first, you know, and then the community. You know, that is a part of the problem. You know, parents, you know, they allow kids to do whatever they want in this day and age also. You know, so parents have to also make sure that they put on them foot like how our parents them did put on them foot in that aspect.
I agree with you, but a lot of the reasons, I'm not giving any excuses, but a lot of the reasons why some of these parents are not putting down them foot is because them don't even know which foot to put down. That's a one.
True.
And two, them faced with so much economic issues that them selling out them children.
True.
I'm not suggesting that it is the way to go. I'm not suggesting that this is an excuse, but it is a reality. A lot of these parents are selling out their children to the highest bidders. So we're in a serious rut.
Yeah. It's serious.
Anyway, always wonderful talking to you.
Same here, sister.
All right, so we are go through with the music, and we know so you're there with we. You know, one of the things I want to say, I tell you something. One time when me a select, you know, you see, I certainly like, you know, early juggling, you play some nice, like a woman like Marcy and all them nice lady there. But I tell you something that happening in a reggae right now. You have a little set of them a come up now, you see. Then in the early juggling thing, you know, right now, heat at the moment for them thing there. You say, no,
Sister, I never know you notice that.
Yes. I mean, I tell you, so them have attitude with it, you know, I love it. Yeah, man. Yeah,
so when them just walk in when I feel them time for play, when the party hot.
All right, you understand? Yeah, man.
No more early vibes.
No more early juggling. Them must have the heat of the thing me in, and I really feel so proud of them, because, you know, it's whole heap barriers them need to have to kick down for reach there, so.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So Morgan, you're laughing like you say, boy, mama. What you really are dealing with?
Oh man, I'm enjoying this. I really enjoy this.
Well, it's a good thing, man. So I want to say enough respect to the sister them who, you can't put them in a lane and tell them so them to hold them corner. Them the days they done.
No. I actually like the surge of female artists that we have seen over the past couple of years.
Yeah. Real thing. And as I said, them confidence level very, very high, you know, and it's a good thing, really good thing, Well, for enough respect to the brothers too, because let me tell you something, you see, no matter how you see we are going and we are say, ooh, and Ray, the sweetest thing is when we have that encouragement from the bridging them, no make none of we fool.
Yes, man. Yes, man.
It's when we know so the big man them dead with we and it just makes us feel so good.
True indeed.
So everything good otherwise, so wind up time.
Yeah, everything is good on this side, I'm enjoying the show and I really look forward to these segments on Tuesdays and Thursdays, sister. I really enjoy it, and the feedback that I've been getting out in the streets saying, yo, you really connect with Mama Elise. Long I've been listening to Mama Elise. I can't believe you talk to her every week. Tell her this to me when you hear from her. Tell her this, remind her who me is. And, a lot of people who knows you, they want me to, heal you up for them.
Very good. And can I tell you what's happening my side? What's happening my side now is that there are some sisters, particularly the sister them, and it's like, we link up every now and then, like we're like a WhatsApp group and thing. And can I tell you this? A lot of times what the conversation is about is the conversation that you had with Beauregard, because a lot of them are over your side. And they're saying, you remember what Beauregard said today? I'm not lying, I tell. So, yeah, man, a lot of them, finding what you're saying, so interesting and connecting with what you're saying. I really love that.
Thank you. And I appreciate them for listening too.
Yes, they are listening. As you said, they are really listening. So, so what we say, Thursday?
Thursday again.
All right. All right, Beauregard. Nice talking to you, and bless up them other ones. See?
I will, sister. You take care.
All right, bless. Hey, so we want to say thank you so very much for being a part of this program we call Untengle. And together we're going to be doing all the untangling, because one somebody can't untangle. So we just say give thanks, give thanks for all those who have been listening. We want to say give thanks for all those who have been sharing the WhatsApp notes. Want to say give thanks for all those who have been watching and saying all kind of things. But we give thanks for your watching, and for those who want to watch, you know how we do it already. It's www.thebridge99fm.com. You can also watch and be a part of the program. Want to send out enough love to the team that always inspire me. It's never ever, we never do it alone. No matter what you see happening here, we never do it alone. So we just want to say enough respect to the team. We want to say enough respect also, a big respect to Delmarine Williams, who was our guest this morning. And what a story. And of course, she really opened up our hearts and made us talk about so many things that sometimes we sweep under the carpet. So thank you very much, Delmarine, for being open and helping us to stop sweeping things under the carpet, because we never solve anything that way. Thanks for being our guest. Thank you very much to the team. Want to say enough respect again to Beauregard and those listening from the Tri-State. It's always a pleasure playing for you and reasoning with you. Master Control Operator Richard Rainford, Romy, that's the Vision Mixer, and and I always look forward to looking at my producer's face. No, you should see it here now. When Romy bring the flag, Vaughn is like, So bless up yourself to my producer, Vaughn Tharp. Thank you so very much for always giving out good vibes and for the work that you do. And, we want to leave you with this, because we really need to remind you that we need, especially now, we need to go back to the beginning of things, because that's where the answer to everything is. We need to go back to the beginning of things always. Trace the thread of life. Find that knot, because we have a lot of knots on that thread of life, especially based on the journey that we've been through. So we need to find that knot. And you know how we stay already. We need to untangle that.